G'day everyone, it's Matt Rard, CEO and co-founder of eBusiness Institute. Now, a lot of you know we specialize in teaching beginners how to get online, particularly buy and build websites. And a lot of you listening, a lot of our community are corporates or getting out of a full-time job. And what that means for you, probably, I'm guessing, is time is a major issue. So we can teach you how to do this really well. You love learning it. But then you might be working long hours and maybe you've got like money to do this, but it's just the time is the issue. Well, if you're in that situation, I think today you are really going to like our special guest today is Adam Smith, because he may well have the perfect solution for you, because what Adam does is basically it's a done for you system of what we teach here at the eBusiness Institute, which is these guys build and help you create content websites. So what I want to do today is go into detail with what Adam does, show you, so he's going to share with us some of the success strategies around and how all this can work. So if you're trying to exit your corporate role, you're really excited about what you're learning here with us, Adam can help you if you don't have the time to do it yourself, or you want to maybe add this as an extra arm within your portfolio of websites. So Adam, thank you so much for coming along today. It's great to see you and have you on board.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm excited to connect with your audience, excited to connect and kind of share what we do and share a bit about our story, our background.
Yeah, because so you're one of the co-founders of Niche Website Builders, and I've heard really good things about you guys for a number of years now, and I keep meaning to reach out to you and come and have a chat to our guys. And it was really good fun the other day when we caught up and hearing about what you can do. And like I was saying to you, I realized, wow, this could be the perfect solution for someone who's a busy corporate, but they've got a bit of money. So obviously this, your service it's not free or anything like that. But in a nutshell, do you want to tell our audience what Niche Website Builders do and what you and Mark have created there at Niche Website Builders?
Yeah, I think I think the best place to start is why we created it, because it's probably going to be a similar question or similar answer to what your audience is looking for. So when I was working a corporate job, I was working for a digital marketing agency a number of years ago and was learning all about SEO, learning all about digital marketing, and had that light bulb moment where like, I'm doing this for everyone else. Why don't I do this for myself? And I've got the skill set. So I went out, I bought a website from Empire Flippers. I had some spare money saved up. This was back when you could buy websites for $10,000 on Empire Flippers. They don't sell them that cheap anymore.
No, the good old days.
The good old days, yeah. And I bought the website for about $10,000. It was in a space I knew nothing about. We don't have barbecues and smoker machines here in the UK because the weather is terrible normally. I knew nothing about this space. And I dived in and I immersed myself in the niche. I joined a ton of Facebook groups. I started writing content, writing reviews, asking surveys in Facebook groups around what kind of content I could write on my website, asking people for pictures of them with their grills because I didn't have any.
Awesome.
And the site grew really, really quick. It was very content heavy. I was writing every evening, writing every weekend. Thankfully, I didn't have a family at the time, so I didn't have any commitments. It was great. I was like, oh, this is great. I work my job. I come home. I work on this website. And then 8 months later, out of the blue, someone emailed me to say, do you want to sell the website? And I didn't even know this industry of kind of existed really. I knew about Empire Flippers, but I was very new. And I said, yeah. I thought it was a scam to start with, but I was like, yeah, okay, I'll sell the website. And I sold the website, and it was more than I made in a year working at my job. And I was like, this is great. I want to do more of this, but I'm going to need time. So I went and asked my boss, could I drop down to 3 days a week and do 2 days website investing? And they said no. So I sold the website for $60,000 with that fresh in my pocket. I'm like, okay, I'm going to quit. And I'm going to do this full time. And I did. And that's what I did. But
awesome.
During that whole process, I was pretty burnt out because, working a job and doing content in the evenings and weekends is very demanding. So I took a month off and I bought another website and I started again. But this time I realized I needed to build, I needed help. I couldn't really do this at scale myself. So I started looking around for freelancers, and I was on Upwork and Fiverr looking for good quality content writers. And it was hard because you find someone that's great and they'd stick around for a month or two and then they disappear and you never hear of them again. And it's just that continuous cycle of trying to find good people. And it was really hard. And I was on a podcast then a little while later talking about my frustrations of finding good quality people to help scale my portfolio. And Mark, my co-founder, heard me, and he was in the exact same position. Yeah. He was working full-time on his portfolio, having the same issues. And we met up and said, hey, between us, we should build a team to service our portfolio of websites.
Perfect.
And we did. And we started with some content writers and some uploaders. And then we brought in some keyword researchers. And then we're like, actually, if we need this service, other people need this service. And that was how Niche Website Builders was born, essentially, which was 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, we launched the site, launched the business. And now we cover a bit of everything we cover everything, but for content website owners. So we do content creation, but the full end-to-end content creation. So we do all of the keyword research for you. That involves like an onboarding call, understand your website, understand your niche, where you want to take it, and then we'll help you with that keyword research piece. But you can also have some input. Once that's finished, we'll write the content, and we've got a team of in-house content writers. We don't outsource anything. There's no freelancers or anything like that. They're all full-time employees of ours, and that means we've trained them the way that we want them to write. And then once the content's written, the next bottleneck that everyone has is how do you get that content on your website and make it look nice and formatted with images and things like that. So we do that as well. So if you want content, we'll do keyword research, content, upload it to the website, and it's ready for you to hit publish.
That is perfect. So you've overcome all the main bottlenecks that you guys found when you started out this. And Adam, I know you're very humble about this, but we should mention how many employees, like to give people an idea, like the scale of what you've grown in the last 3 years is pretty darn impressive. So just so you know, anyone listening here, this is not a small business. Niche Website Builders, go and look them up. They're really big. How many employees do you have?
We've got about 150 employees. So just to give you an idea of the trajectory, we did £1 million in our first year and 3.2 million in the second year. And we'll do 5.2 this year. And we're projecting 7 next year. So it's on a big, there's demand for the service, to be fair.
Yep, because it's just such a huge marketplace. So well done, seriously, to go from, so you're like any of our students, doing the full-time job, learning how to build portfolios of websites. You and your business partner got together and said, hey, we can start doing this whole end-to-end content service. And now you've turned this into a multi-million-dollar business. Like you're already at 5 mil turnover within 3 years. That's how big the marketplace. I mean, that's inspirational in itself, just how big the marketplace and seeing what you guys have achieved. Well done. Like seriously.
It's been a journey, to be fair. It's been good.
Yeah. No, make it sound all easy. It's meant to be. Yeah. I'm sure it's been a walk in the park, taking a business from startup to 5 million in 3 years. That's impressive, though. And with your accent, Adam, I'm going to repeat the number of employees. It's 150, isn't it?
50, yeah.
Yeah, 50. So you're hiring all these. Well, they're not free, like you said, they're your staff now. They work for you full time, creating and primarily it's just content. That's what you guys are, I guess, then legends at pumping out lots of content. Yeah,
I mean, we offer other services now, but the content is kind of our primary core service that we offer. Content production is the heart of the business. To give you an idea, we launched a new case study recently. And we launched that. The website went live on the 8th of August. And by the end of this year, we would have put 4.6 million words of content on our website. 2,250 pieces of content.
Mate, that is unreal. Okay, so all right, this is awesome. There's lots of questions I want to ask you around this. And I'm just thinking, okay, what does everyone need to learn here? Because I've got my questions, which is, how have you gone from 2 employees, you and your partner, to 5 and 10 million? That alone is an impressive effort. And just so on that note, all that journey, you've mainly, would you say part of your business strategy there is just solely focusing on that content creation? That's your bread and butter. I know you do, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that you do, but that's been that's what you focused on first in the business to get dialed in.
Exactly, because that's the way that we grew our own portfolio of websites. It was very content centric, and basically, one of the things that's made us successful is that me and Mark still own our own portfolio of websites. We still kind of walk the walk. It's not like, oh, that was a past thing, and all we do is run the business now. And what we've been very passionate about doing is testing out new strategies on our own website, and as and when we see them working or not working, we update our niche website builder SOP. So we're always developing, we're always learning, and we're always transitioning that into what we offer as a service. And I think obviously that gives clients good results, but also it just means that we've always got something new to talk about. We've always got something interesting to share. And yeah, I think it just sets us apart, because another thing we're very passionate about is giving away 100% of our knowledge. If you've watched any of our YouTube videos or seen it, if you've been involved in any of our world at all, you'll see that if we launch a new service, the first thing that we do is go and put a podcast out and say, or a YouTube video and say, this is exactly how we do it step by step. If you want to go and do it yourself, that's great. But if you don't have the time, then we've got a service that does it for you. And I think that's been really important.
And so I've got to ask you then, the other question is, how have you grown? Because you guys, typically in our world, as you know, internet marketing, making money online, it's dominated by the Americans and the American market and American marketers. And typically people like yourself, let's not kid ourselves. Most of them are in the US. You guys are in the UK. And how have you gotten this out there so big? Like, to do 5 mil turnover, 150 employees, pumping out the volume of content you have. How have you gotten the sales side? Because there's lots of, so just so you know, also in our community, we got lots of people with digital agencies, and they do a bit of content marketing for their clients. There's lots of, and as we know, there's content marketing agencies everywhere. But what's made you guys go so quick and so big? What's been, have you got any secrets to success there?
Yeah, I literally did a presentation to some local businesses last week on this. So it's fresh in my mind.
Okay, yep.
So I guess the first thing I should point out is, even though we're based in the UK, 70% of our client base are based in the US, and almost 90% of the sites that we create content for are focused on the US market because it's the biggest. So even though our writers are based in the UK, they've all got their Grammarly set to the US, and they're used to writing like a US focus. So that's the first thing. But in terms of growth, it's all been about giving and giving and giving. Like I said, it's all about giving away our knowledge, and that's how we got our start. We launched the business. We had a small Facebook group with a couple of hundred members in there. We bought a website from Flipper, and we said we're going to do an over-the-shoulder case study where we recorded every single thing we did to this website, what we were doing to optimize it, how we were adding content, and then eventually how we sold it. And that built a lot of trust. Anything that we see was working on our own websites, we'd go and speak on, leverage other people's audiences. We go and speak on other people's podcasts and say, hey, that's a great story about how I bought a website and I sold it. And this is the exact things that I did to do that. And I guess it's the mindset of giving, but not expecting anything in return. Like we still are, but in the early years, we're exceptionally good at giving just time, knowledge, secrets. Well, people would class as secrets, when they run an agency. They don't want to give away their secret sauce. Give away your secret sauce to everyone, and just know that there's a subset of people that will take that knowledge that you've given them and go and do it themselves, which is great, awesome, if they've got the time and effort to do that. But there's a big subset of people that think, I don't have the time to do that, or I don't have the inclination to want to do that, but I want to get involved. And then you've got a service, a productized service. That's the important bit. It's a productized service on the back end to service them.
So in effect, you gave away free content like that, your bread and butter, you're just providing useful content out there. So you've kind of done it in more of a physical world. So normally, as you know, we're all used to doing it online with our content niche websites, but you guys in this business, you use the same strategy, but more by networking with real humans and giving away just free content, stuff that people are asking around this niche website strategy idea.
Exactly. And that's worked incredibly well for us. Just to give you an idea, of those sales, around 90% of that is inbound. So we don't really have an outbound sales team.
Okay.
Yes, 7 to 8 sales calls booked every day inbound. And of
Oh,
those,
yeah?
we convert about 60% of them. So it's all that lovely information we put out, all that hard work, then results in
Comes.
people saying, hey, those guys are experts. I want to work
Yep.
with those. How do I get involved? And it's all
Awesome.
inbound then. We don't need a sales team for that.
Well, congratulations. It's unreal. And obviously you're doing well with it too, because you don't get that success unless you're doing well. So seriously, congratulations. It's impressive. We're in the startup space, and we look at a lot of startup businesses as well. And to go from 0 to 150 employees in 3 years and 5 mil, and get that exponential revenue growth. And then I'm sure you will hit the 10 mil. That is seriously impressive. So, and you've obviously got a scalable model. You've got it dialed in. So that is very impressive, Adam. And you're based in the UK. That's also what stood out to me when I read about your story. And I'm thinking, I've got to speak to these guys. And then, because like all of us, most of our business is based in the US. And and it's interesting what you just said then. Even your team is based in the UK as well. It's not even US-based writers. So that's pretty cool as well. And what sort of writers are you generally hiring then? Because that leads me to the next question.
Yeah, for sure. So almost all of the content team have degrees in things like either English language or English literature or history or something like that. And then we train them then. So we've gone on a pretty robust onboarding process because we create very specific types of content. We're either creating affiliate content or content to be monetized through display ads, informational-based content. So we've got a very strict formula and format for how we like that content created. So they go through an onboarding process. So it doesn't really matter kind of what their past experience of writing was, as long as they're a good writer, because we can train them to write the way that we want to write then, or how we expect our content to be formatted, or the structure of our content. So that's the way we've overcome that.
And are there, out of interest, I know this sounds cliche, but are there lots of work-at-home mums and stuff like that, and especially after COVID and everything, or it's a broad spectrum of individuals?
It's a broad spectrum, but most of them tend to be quite young. So it's either their first or second job. So they're out of university. This is their first kind of experience of a writing job, some of them. We've got others then on the end of the spectrum who are a little bit older. We've got a couple of ex-journalists, which has been great when we've launched new services around digital PR, and we need writers to write to journalists and speak to journalists in a language. But there's a broad mix, but lots of them tend to be quite young.
Yeah, and it's interesting that one on journalists, we teach that here because we found over the last few years, particularly say the last 5 years, the big media companies here in Australia have just been laying off all their journalists, and now they're on Upwork. We hire them on Upwork. So we keep telling our guys, don't think you're just getting beginner writers on Upwork. You can go and hire full-on journalists who, only a few months ago were writing for some of the leading media companies. And I guess that's, repeated around the world. Sadly, they're all being replaced, or they're just, these big media companies are downscaling. So it's a good resource. Having some journalists mixed in there, that must be a really good, balances out your team and your content writing abilities quite nicely. And so in terms of results for your clients, obviously you're doing something pretty good there, I'm guessing. What are tell us about some of the success stories, because I think I want to give people a gauge of how this works, because obviously, guys, just so you know, there's a fee to this. You're going to be, am I right, Adam? And it's going to be more expensive than trying to do it yourself. But it's like we teach here: you either have time or money. So if you don't have much time, then it may be worth investing the money here. So do you want to give us some examples of what you would typically do? Say for some of say we've got a client, they're in corporate like yourself, we're working a full 5 to 6 days a week, that sort of, you can imagine what they're like. What sort of examples do you have around that for our listeners?
Sure. So, we've got tons of case studies if you want to go and check them out, but there's one which particularly sticks in my mind because it's an example of an incredibly successful case study, which is why it's a case study.
But that's what we want to hear.
It doesn't always work out like this, I should caveat. But it was a customer came to us at the end of 2020, December 2020. He was working in finance, so very analytical in terms of what does my ROI look like? If I'm investing X amount of money, like what does my return look like? And we kind of walked him through the numbers of this is what would need to go into a project to get to the scale that you wanted to get it to. And he said, "Yep, that's great." But he didn't know anything. This is his first website he'd ever owned. He'd never done this before. He'd heard about website investing as an asset class. Being in finance, he's like, I need to diversify. So came to us and said, I don't know anything. I'm extremely time poor, but I've got cash to invest. So how can you help? And in that case, we looked at, okay, you want to get to this size, so we need to pick a niche which is big enough for you to kind of expand into. So we helped him pick the space that we should start in. We then helped him pick the domain names, because in this case we worked with an H domain. So we helped source the domain, and then we did all of the keyword research. And that involved, I mean, I can come back on and share some of our keyword research methodologies if you want, but it involves something called a tomb raiding methodology. In essence, we look for weaker competitors who are doing a really good job, weaker competitors in terms of their domain rating and their backlink profile, but are doing a standout job of their content. And then we analyze and say, what are those guys doing really well? How are they doing a really good job with a really weak backlink profile? And then we look at how they structure their content, what topics they cover, and essentially we look to emulate it and make it a little bit better. So that was our plan with this website. We identified a couple of these competitors. We looked at exactly what they were doing, and that built the core for the keyword research plan. And then we wrote the content, and we started with, I think it was 150,000 words in December. And then we had a month off, and then we started with another 150,000 words. And by this point, the website was seeing those green shoots. And he's like, this is great. I've invested some money. How do we accelerate this now? So we started investing more and more in content. And by the end of the year, so 12 months in, we put about 2 million words of content on this website. The growth was phenomenal. He was getting around 3 million page views per month at month 13 mark. He's monetized with Mediavine. He was making $40,000 a month in revenue. And he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I didn't think the thing was even... No, I was just expecting to make a little bit of side income as an investment. Now this has turned into a real business. They've now got a team with them. They've got social media presence. They're developing digital products and courses. They've turned it into a real business. But essentially, for that first 13 months, he did nothing apart from approve the keyword research plan and every now and again check in and say, content's looking great, or can we amend this, or how about, what about this, or that kind of thing. So it's very hands-off for him for that first 13 months before he said, this is a business now. I need to work on it as a business, and kind of built it from there.
That is super cool. So that's the capability of what you guys can offer. It is literally done for you end to end. So it's the keyword research, all the content. And do you help him set up the site and everything? Like, does your team do all of that as well? Yeah,
we do everything. So we design the website, we get the logo created, we host it for the first 12 months for you as well on our hosting. And then in terms of website setup, it's everything again. It's everything we would do to launch one of our own websites. And that includes doing all of the internal linking on the content, setting up Google Analytics, setting up Google Search Console, and submitting the sitemaps. It's literally the full hands-off process. If you've never worked on a website before, we'll set it up, put the content on there, add all the images, embed YouTube videos, do the internal linking, show you what the signs you should look for in Google Analytics and Search Console and Ahrefs to see those initial green shoots. And depending on the commitment that or the size of the commitment that you want from us, we'll usually then have a 1 month, a strategy call every month to say, this is what's going well, this is what we want to change direction as we see things changing and working in the industry, because it changes quite often.
Yep. And then how long do people typically stay with you on obviously he's going to stay with you for a long time, but what would be a typical commitment, like a year, 2 years? And then are people up and running with them?
Yeah. So on the side where it's kind of, you want everything done for you, it's usually over at least a 12-month commitment. And the way that works is you come to us and say, I want a website that makes $1,000 a month. And we say, okay, we've got so many things to talk about. We talk about the data study, which
I know. you're going to have to come back, Adam.
No.
We both need to jot down notes, but we'll cover the basics on this one, and I think we're going to have to do a couple of follow-up interviews here. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Go up.
So yes, it's come to us and say, I want a website that makes $1,000 a month, and we say, okay, we've looked at this data project. That means we need to get you to a backlink profile that looks like X, and we need Y number of pieces of content. We structure that so we front load the website, we build the website, we take half of the required content and we upload it and write it on day one or within the first month. And then from there, then the rest is split out over 12 months. And usually at the end of 12 months, they start seeing that kind of income and they go like, actually, I don't want a website that makes $1,000 anymore. Yeah, what do I need to do to get a website that makes 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever?
Or 40,000. Yeah,
exactly. That's usually the case. That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah, and so I'm just thinking for our guys listening, we obviously have a lot of people in our community who own portfolio websites. So we've got intermediate through to advanced people as well. So for some of them, if they've bought, I'm just thinking it could be perfect for some of them if they've bought sites, say a couple of years ago off Flipper or Empire Flippers, and maybe they've just let those sites die off a bit. Do you help with renovating old sites as well and reinvigorating them and just doing a whole new content show? I'm presuming you do, but does that work well? Is that a good part of your service that you do as well?
Yeah, it's great. And it's really fulfilling to work with existing website owners, because usually when you build a website from scratch, it takes time. You've got, whether you believe it or not, the Google sandbox period, and it takes a long time to get that traction. With an existing website, especially if it's been around for some time, usually it responds very well to an injection of new content or a round of digital PR link building or, whatever else you want to do for it. But we look at it on a case by case. So if you've got a website you bought, maybe you've neglected it, or even if you've been working on it, but you just need help scaling it quicker, we look at it and we'll say, okay, based on our data project, you are doing extremely well on the backlink profile. You don't need much work there, but you need more content. And that's where we'll focus. And that's where we build kind of the roadmap for you then.
Okay, cool. So guys, those of you who own existing sites, this is definitely an option. I know a lot of our listeners are going to get pretty excited at that one, Adam, as well. If they're a bit short of time, because I personally coach so many of our students, one of the biggest things that we get fed back to us, particularly in the last 5 years, I think society's changed, is time. It's actually the main constraint for everyone now. It's not money so much, it's more time. And so I guess that, you've kind of good timing on you and Mark's behalf of launching this business when you did, because obviously there's a huge need for it. And what's some of the other services just quickly because I think I would like to come back and interview you in a bit more detail about them. Can you just quickly go over 2 or 3 of the other services that you've now added in as well?
Yeah, sure. So the most recent one, which is the most exciting in my eyes, is our digital PR offering. And it's actually true digital PR. It's not just sending out a press release. It covers 3 different aspects. We do reactive digital PR, where you've got a website that's in, the food space, and every morning the team look at what are the trending news articles, and we look at what content you've got on your website and how we can use that content to pitch journalists and say, hey, Thanksgiving is coming. We've got a piece of content on the website that talks about 30 best Thanksgiving recipes. So that's the kind of reactive side of it. We've got a data-driven side of it, where rather than look for trending news stories, you try and make the news story. So we could look at, again, sticking with the Thanksgiving thing, what's the cost of a Thanksgiving turkey in each state and how that's increased year on year. And we could say, last year the most expensive state was New York, and this year the most expensive state is, Texas, for example, and create an actual data piece that sits on your website. And then we reach out to journalists and say, hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. You've covered food or this kind of topic before. How about covering this? And we've also got a visual aspect as well, which is similar to the data, but we create a visual representation of it. So that could be, we did one recently about the most dog-friendly beaches in the US, and that was overlaid on a map. And the way that we pulled the data together from that was we looked at the Instagram hashtags, so how popular each beach was via Instagram hashtags for dog walkers.
Yep. Nice.
We that on a map, and journalists love that stuff. We've got access. We buy access to a journalist database via Mudrack, and basically we say, you've talked about pets, you've talked about dogs before. We've got this awesome data set, and the links it drives is incredible. Like honestly, not just links, we also coverage. We had one of our clients actually in the newspaper recently. So they put it online and then they interviewed him for the newspaper. Like, it's crazy for when you think for a niche site. And these services have been around from other companies for a long time, digital PR, but it's never really been attainable or affordable for content site owners, because normally you think of digital PR as crazy expensive, but we've managed to build the service where it's affordable for content site owners. And it makes sense now. If you want that kind of link building, you want that kind of build that moat around your website that it's hard for competitors to compete and to do the same thing, it's now affordable for you.
So can you give us an idea, because I'm just sitting here thinking, like, for our customers, say, I'm presuming that would only be relevant for sites that are making some okay money, though, like off affiliate offers. And yes, so what would it roughly cost for that particular service? Because I would imagine that's the sort of thing that we teach our students to do with good established sites, and it's a really, really good SEO boost long term as well. And so I'm interested, how much do you charge for that service?
Yeah, so there's 3 levels of packages depending on kind of how aggressive you want to be with it. The base package is $1,200 US dollars a month with a 3 month. So it's $1,200 for 3 months. The next package up is $2,500, and then if you want to go really aggressive, it's $4,200 a month. So that's for really established sites.
Yeah. So if you've got a really good site, guys, if you're in the 5 and 6 figure a month type sites, you definitely should check out that service, because if you're not doing that yourself already, it is very powerful doing online PR, something where, because a lot of people don't, especially small niche sites, as you know, Adam, most small niche sites don't do very good online PR at all. And it's hugely powerful. Google notices, that's for sure. It just adds to that SEO footprint. So that is absolutely fantastic. And that's gone well, has it, as a launch for you? There's
gone really well. Just to give you, the guy I was talking about in the case study a second ago, as soon as he heard about it, he said, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I've been looking for a service like this. How do I sign up for 6 months up front?" And he just paid for 6 months up front. He was that impressed with what it was like. So the launch has gone extremely well. And I think it's in part because when we were building the service and testing it internally, we actually headhunted the head of digital PR and his right-hand man from another agency. They've been running it for 8 years. They've been doing this, and they work with incredible brands. They work with Cath Kidston. They work with Puma. They worked with really big brands. And we're like, how can you guys come in and help us build a service that's not really for big brands, for small sites, but still, make it really attractive? And we're super excited by it. It's amazing.
Okay, yeah, and I remember when I spoke to you a few weeks ago, you were super excited. I can tell by the enthusiasm that's going to be a big winner. And gut feel, it is a hugely beneficial service for us content site owners. And like you said, it's not normally available. It's been a bit of a pain in the butt actually over the years to do good Harrow outreach and PR, online PR. You've got to really commit yourself to it and your team. And it's kind of pretty specialized, but if you can nail it, the results I've seen over the years have just been phenomenal. So now all of us have got access to you guys to do it.
Yeah, and the great thing about it as well is the links that it drives are awesome, but there's also a really good side benefit. So one of the things that we see becoming more important with Google is EAT, the expertise, authority, and trust. And I mean, lots of our site owners, especially if they are building from scratch, the person on the About Us page typically is not them. The one they've on there. It's like usually it's a made up persona for the website. But that person, because they're made up, doesn't have a digital footprint. But by doing digital PR and getting brand mentions and name mentions, you start to build an actual authentic digital footprint for this person as an expert. And you build that EAT, that expertise, authority, and trust with Google. So the digital PR links are awesome, but you also get a super added benefit of building EAT then. And I think from what we can see, that's becoming more and more important.
Yeah, I personally think it's a perfect strategy for us content site owners. I think it's really, really smart, particularly. And I think it's kind of, when you think about it, it's a little bit of it's kind of insurance for once you've got bigger content sites, it not only is it like your client said, a nice adjunct, but it's actually more so insurance, I believe, long term, because like you said, most of us, we do all the time. We use pseudonyms. I'm known as a girl online. My name's not Matt Rad online. It's all sorts of different names. And our sites have always been pseudonyms, and that's how we've done it with PR. You can do it under pseudonym names, but it is, it just takes you even need specific PR writers to write those, the press releases. The way they're written is not how we normally would write articles. And it's great to see that, you guys provide the full end-to-end service there as well. And then you also mentioned too, you do a little bit of white labeling for digital agencies in terms of anything to do with content, you can white label, I'm guessing.
Anything with any of our services. So if you want link building, digital white label, or if you want content white label, and it's the exact same service essentially for agencies. So if you've got a client base that you need content for, or you need help expanding and contracting, if you've got a freelance model with your business, but you don't want to do that anymore, it's a hassle, you can come to us. You can have one account manager. We'll do the full end-to-end process. So we'll do the keyword research for your client. We'll write the content. If you want us to, we'll even go in and format and upload the content to your client's website, and then it's white label. They never know it's us. Right. It's all you, basically. Okay.
Awesome, Adam. That is so exciting, mate. I think mission accomplished. You're going to have some excited people listening to this interview. It's really, and seriously, congratulations in the success in your business as well. But it is exciting to see the service that you can offer here for us content site owners. And I do want to say a big thank you for coming along today and sharing your expertise. And I'll put your contact details in the show notes and things like that, because what I'd love to do is have you back on again, and we can go into maybe some more detail on some more case studies, some of the ones that you and I have been chatting about, and maybe some of the methodology behind it. But I do want to say a big thank you for coming along today and sharing the overview of what you guys do at Niche Website Builders.
No, thanks for having me, man. And I'm extremely excited to come back and share that kind of stuff. I love, if you can't tell, this is my life. I love talking about this stuff. I love sharing case studies and all kinds of stuff. So whenever you want me back, just set it up.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Adam. And guys, if you enjoyed today, make sure you do go and check out Adam's services at Niche Website Builders. And also, of course, if you haven't for some reason done our masterclass on the full strategy behind how Liz and I buy, build, and sell websites, make sure you sign up and check out that one as well, because it'll make a lot of the concepts that Adam talked about today. You'll understand the power of what Adam's business can provide for you if you want to go out there and build your own portfolio of content websites. But we'll see you all on the next podcast. And Adam, thanks for coming along today.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good one.